You are listening to SheKings with Erica and Allie. This is a podcast for peasants who don't want to live shitty lives. Every week we share insights on how to stop living out of habit and start living out of inspiration. So let's do this.
Guess what?
We're recording.
Yes, Allie.
I think we should have started recording before when we were doing our warm-ups, like we're about to run a race. I think that'd have been good.
Wait, do you twerk when you're about to run a race? Is that your thing? Because
Now I do the side stretches. I mean,
but we're
I
also
don't
doing
run at all. Let's be honest.
You say you're like, hey, yeah, actually, let's walk that back.
I don't even run. It just
we don't. Like maybe people do twerk before they run. I wouldn't know because I don't.
Not in that world. Nope.
That's fair. That is fair.
Well, I ventured out. I'm still in Abu Dhabi. I ventured out and walked a little over a mile and a half to a yoga studio. Mm-hmm. I got there. It was super beautiful. I did a Vinyasa 2 class. So it was like 75-minute class. It was really hard. But when I walked in, they were just like, have you done yoga before? You know, they were concerned. And I'm just like, please, yes. Yes.
Hard eye roll, okay?
Yes.
You should have gone full Gwyneth Paltrow and been like, I mean, without me, you wouldn't even be working at this studio, okay? I'm the reason why people do yoga today. Me.
Yeah. So I sucked it up. I did the Vinyasa flow too. The catcher was walking back home for that little over a mile. That was a lot. So I put in about 3 miles. And I don't go to Starbucks ever. But I was walking through this neighborhood and I turned the corner and there was a Starbucks and it could have just been illuminated with light. It could have been music because I was dehydrated. I was hungry. I was so bad. So that Starbucks was my sanctuary.
It changed everything, huh?
Not that I'll go back to not that I'll go and start chilling at Starbucks, but in that moment, it was everything.
What's wrong with Starbucks? You like judge non-craft beer. You're like, oh, actually, I like my beans grown on the peak. Whatever.
Well, first of all, I don't do coffee. That's why I avoid Starbucks because coffee just ruins me. I can't do coffee.
Okay.
And I'd rather spend, my $100 a month on something else besides juice and biscuits.
Yeah, fair enough.
Me. Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, I felt like there was an air of like peasantry. You're like, peasants go. Peasants go to Starbucks.
Go to Starbucks.
Well, some of our loyal listeners are probably Starbucks fans.
Hey,
so we
you know what? On every corner, even in Abu Dhabi, there's a Starbucks. So they're doing something. Like, you can't talk shit about it. And then you go to Dubai, Starbucks in Dubai. Like they're everywhere. So
Starbucks didn't make it in Amsterdam. Like really? They kicked that shit out quick. I think there may be 1 or 2 now, but like they came in with that American energy and the Dutch were like, it's a hard pass for me. They had to go. I forgot what they did wrong because it was years ago, but not everywhere.
I'm telling you, there is a lot of American energy here. Everything's written in English along with Arabic. I mean, there's a KFC here.
Yeah, but KFC, no. Let's talk about that. Everybody wants to talk about how the blacks love the fried chicken. But let me tell you something. I have never been to a country, right? A tiny village, right? They have the KFC because everybody likes fried chicken.
That's
everybody.
So well, and then there was churches. But what is it called? It's not churches. Texas, but it has the same logo as Church's Fried Chicken, but it's Texas Fried Chicken, and they have a Hardee's. They have McDonald's. They have Burger King. I mean, it's just a lot a lot.
Yeah, man.
However, there's some Lebanese restaurants that are amazing.
That are the bomb.
So good. So good.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Next video that we record, I will be back in the States. I will be leaving Friday morning to make the 24-hour trip back home.
Yeah, man.
That's always fun.
So at least you stayed there for 3 weeks. It wasn't like a 24-hour trip, so you could stay for 5 days and then like 24-hour trip back home.
Yeah, that would not be
That's awesome.
I wouldn't sign up for that at all.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today?
Allie.
Yes.
Listen. No, not you. Everybody listening to this, listen. You cannot. You cannot know everything. Like absolutely everything. At least not in the way that you're trying to know. So today, Allie, we're going to talk about, what did we call it? What was that message? It was like not knowing in order to know or something like that.
Yeah. Not knowing to truly know.
In order to truly know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So what's that smile for?
I'm listening to Mark and I'm just like, can everybody hear him? He's like,
no.
Toilet. He's washing his hands.
No, we can't hear him.
Well, and I just noticed the reflection on the picture is the window, and he was getting dressed. And I didn't.
Oh, yes.
And I totally saw him getting dressed, and I was like, oh, well, this is getting recorded.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Ladies,
so listen,
welcome,
ladies. Mark's got an amazing situation going on. So I was looking directly into the windows of Allie's soul. But if you're listening to this on iTunes, go to YouTube and hope that you can see his body.
And if our viewers go up, see, there he is again.
Yeah, there we go.
Reflecting. Everybody saw you get changed. And if it goes up, then we'll do this again. Be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know he was changing.
Just turn the entire camera around. Like, oh my gosh, that was such a mistake. Now we got full view.
Anyway, let's continue recording.
All right, guys. Sorry about that. Mark has a great body. You should know. Okay. So, Allie, many years ago, I was starting my coaching business, and I actually ended up detouring into yoga, like fully and completely immersing myself into yoga and just taking a few clients over that time, that like 5, 6, 7 years. But I spoke to a coach during that time, and she was a business coach, and she helped people just get themselves out there, do their marketing, yada, 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 find their niche. And I sent her my website before we got on the phone. And when we got onto the call, she was like, okay, I looked at your website and I think that you should add this, you should change this, you should tweak this, blah, 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 blah. And all of the stuff that she was telling me, I had seen it before. I had listened to other coaches on, what was back then sort of a podcast. And I was like, I know. Yeah, I mean, I've seen that before. And my ego was so attacked, right? Yeah. Because I did know. I seriously had read it all and I had seen it. And I don't know if it was just fear getting in the way of me making the leap, or if it was, I don't know what it was, but I definitely didn't want to fucking hear her telling me about how I could be a better human, right? And she finally was like, well, if you know all of this stuff, then why haven't you done it? And at that point I was like, fuck you, bitch. Like, I'm done with you. I'm never going to work with you because I don't need you all up in my face telling me what I already know. Right? And with an attitude, no less. Okay. Yeah. And that is what we're going to talk about today.
Well, and I think that I know is defending our ego, so we don't look a certain way. it's funny because when you and I decided to do this topic, Mark was came back from training. So Mark's here to teach SWAT movement to SWAT cops. And so he said that there's a couple of guys that he'll be explaining things to them and they'll just be like, oh, I know, as they walk past suspects with weapons, right? And just jeopardize their team. And when he's explaining it to them, they're just like, oh, I know. No, I knew that. And it's just like, well, then why would you do that? And so it's like, it's all ego. It's absolutely all ego, to defend your ego, to protect this idea that you have of yourself. Because once that starts to get chipped away, then you have to start looking at shit to be like, oh, like, why aren't I making changes? Like, do I really know? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And it's like, it's one thing to know something conceptually. It's another thing to really truly know it. It's another thing to really truly know it. Mark's gonna get in trouble.
I'll cough in, make a noise. I'm
like, shut up. But it's another thing to really to know it and to really be applying it, to really, I think that, a lot of us are treating our spiritual evolution, our human evolution, the way we were taught to treat life, like it's a game to be played and like it's knowledge to be gathered. And, a lot of the stuff that the way we're brought up, we go to school, we learn all this shit. It actually turns out to be really quite irrelevant. And then we just never use it or think about it again. And so when the work and that Allie and I are doing with you guys, the conversations that we're having, no, this shit is to be done. This is not like, trigonometry. This is not advanced calculus. Like, this is some shit that, for me, and you'll decide what you want to take from what we talk about, and you'll hear it even differently than we say it, because you're really talking to yourself. So it's not, SheKings taking credit. It's like, whatever it is you hear, whatever it is you think you hear, it's to be worked with, it's to be applied. That's why we do the homework thing every week.
Yeah. And it is challenging. And I mean, I do it too sometimes, where I do know what I need to do. I do know that I need to change my frequency. I do know that I need to surrender into different situations. Like, I do know this, but I don't do it. And so then I'm sitting with it and it's like, well, why don't I want it? Like, why am I not doing it? I mean, and different reasons will come up. But when I work with clients and they do not like any aspect of their life, and I'm trying to explain to them frequencies and changing their thoughts and all that stuff, and it's just like, no, I know. Like, no, I know all that. I've read that book. Nope, I've read that book. I read that book. And then it's just like, why are we here? What are we doing?
Yeah. Why are we talking? Like, why did you come here?
And then, so then the I know turns into simply, then why don't you want it? Then why don't you want all of this stuff? Because if you already know everything, then it's simple. Then why don't you want your life to look different? Because it's simple. You already know it. So then you're making a conscious choice for it not to be this way.
So let's talk about that. I think that, if you already know, and a lot of us, we just know the language. We know the buzzwords. We don't actually know, right? And we have to deal with that. And that was my situation. Like, I knew the language, I knew the buzzwords, but I didn't actually know. I didn't know how to do the things that she was telling me to do to change my website, right? Sometimes, that's why you hire a coach. That's why you come to someone like Allie, you come to somebody like me, because it's like, I understand that, like, life could be happy. Like, I understand that, I could make these shifts and have more of what I want in my life. I could be more peaceful, but I don't actually know how to get it. And like, just reading a few books hasn't gotten me there. And so there needs to be this energy of, I don't know. But anyway, I digress. What you're talking about, Allie, is if you know, then why aren't you doing it? And so one of the things is that you don't actually want it, right? Like just exactly what you said. And so if I was honest, I didn't actually want it back then. I didn't actually want to be coaching. I was about to go about it in a way that wasn't aligned with who I was, right?
Yeah.
Even the suggestion she was making, like a part of it was like, I don't actually want to do that. That's not how I want to get clients, right? It doesn't actually work for me. And so, guys, if you want something and you don't have it, especially if it's some sort of outer thing that you can see, feel, touch, taste, because it's a little bit easier than with that. Ask yourself, do I really, really want it? Maybe you don't, or maybe you don't like the way you're going about getting it.
Yeah. And if you don't want to do the work or take the steps to get it, then ask yourself, like, how important is it truly for you to have this thing? Because if it's important, you'll be like, well, let's do it. Like, I read this book, now let me apply it to my everyday life. Let me change my thought process. Let me send out those letters. Let me follow up. Let me do all this stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you're not going down that route, then why don't you want it?
Absolutely. So somebody could call me and say, I want you to coach me to speak a new language, right? And so I want to learn the language. I've been trying to do this for a decade and I just haven't done it. You sure you want to learn a new language, right? So that's one of the first things. Do you really want what you say you want? The second thing is, are you going about it in a way, like maybe you do want it, but what you think you have to do to get it actually doesn't work for you. Yes. So I think in order to learn a new language, I need to go take a class, and I need to, maybe think, I do want it. What is a way that I could get it that doesn't fucking suck? Like, that just doesn't seem terrible to me, right? Maybe it's taking 3 months and moving to Guatemala, right? To a small village where you have to speak Spanish. And so you don't mind. You actually have things you want to say to people. And so you'll have your book there and you don't mind. Like, okay, I want to learn to speak Spanish. Everybody here only speaks Spanish. And so I'm going to try every day to get better. And like, so, like that was a way that felt good to you to learn the language, not going to some sterile classroom and going about it that way. And I've seen this a lot with clients where they do actually want the thing that they're not doing, but what they think they have to do to get there just sounds fucking terrible to them.
Right.
So change the game, break the rules.
And that's like one of the biggest walls that people come up, is just like, I want this, what's on the other side of this wall, but they think that that's their only path to get there, right? So I equate it to losing weight or getting into shape. Like some diet, some exercise program, some whatever just doesn't work for people, right? And they're trying to go down that route, so they just keep giving up. And so and we limit ourselves when we say, this is how I'm going to do it, right? This is how I'm going to learn another language, but you haven't done it. Or this is how I'm going to get into shape, but you haven't done it. This is how I'm going to earn more money, but you haven't done it. So, but you know what you need to do to make all these things happen, but you really don't know.
You really don't. But
it's not aligning.
The interesting thing is, like, even with that, if people would admit, I don't actually know. I'm just gonna let that hang there. I don't actually know how to learn a language. I don't actually know how to feel happier. I mean, I understand what these people are saying in the book intellectually, but like, I don't know how to apply this shit. Like, I don't get it, because, I thought about it. I feel like I tried some of the things and I still feel like garbage, like every fucking day. Like, I still don't speak the language. I still don't have what I say that I want to have. Like, when you get into the space of I don't know, it's not just a softer place where you're opening to receive. It's a more honest place.
Yeah. But also being mindful that the I don't know, understand and be aware of where your I don't know is coming from. Is it like, I don't know, so I'm giving up. Like, I don't know how to lose weight, or I don't know how to speak another language, so I'm just going to throw in the towel. it's the I don't know that we're talking about is a surrender into, I don't know. Like
I don't know.
Don't know. And what I learned to access the quantum field is whenever you ask a question. So I don't know is a statement. So when you ask a question, then the universe, everything starts to align to give you an answer through an experience. So you can piggyback that onto what would it be like to learn a language in a way that benefits me. So
In a
then
way that I would love, in a way that I
yeah,
would enjoy every
I would
minute. Like, what
enjoy.
would that be
What
like?
would that be like? So when you put out what would that be like, then you sit back because you're just like, I don't know. So then you ask the universe and then things start to align. And then you
Yes.
end up in Guatemala, or your husband gets transferred somewhere, or your wife gets transferred somewhere to a different country. And you're like, you know what, I'm going to go, whatever it is. And so that the I don't know is just surrender. You should always be here with the thought of learning, right? Your
Yeah.
goal is to constantly learn. Like everything should be new. I feel like when you truly know everything, the ego part of knowing, then that's when you just collapse. Like
Yeah.
there's no movement anymore. It's just you're there in your
The
little I know
There
world.
can't be movement. The
Yeah.
only movement that there could possibly be is backwards movement, if you know, if you're in that space, because the only thing that the mind can know, the only thing that thought can know is old stuff. It can only know what it's experienced before. It can only know what somebody told it. It can only, but when you step into that place of, I don't know, like Ali was saying, and you go to universe, you go to spirit, and you're like, all right, but what would it be like? What are the possibilities? Like, let's just throw away everything I think I know. Guide me, step by step by step, not knowing the next step until you've taken the first step. So in the I know, you already got like 50 fucking steps. Like you're like 90 steps out there, right? And you don't like any of the steps, right? But stepping into I don't know is like, I know I like this step. Oh, there's the next thing. I like that. I like that. I like that. And step by step by step, you know, and that not knowing brings you into true knowing.
Yeah.
Because you know what inspiration is coming through you, right? These thoughts are not ego thoughts, right? These thoughts are from spirit. They're inspiration, they're nudges, they're pushes in a direction that feels good. And when you are on the edge out there with spirit, like taking steps into, like, I don't know if there's even something that's going to catch my foot when I put it down.
You're free
When you're
falling.
out there, you're free falling, but it's new and it's fun and it's your free fall, right? Like Allie's free fall might be, something that is way too crazy for me or not crazy enough for me, right? You're like, it's definitely more crazy. And somebody else, your free fall might not be my free fall, right? Like it may not, and that's okay. So don't try to mirror it. It really is. It becomes this like, it's very internal knowing, but that your internal is fucking massive. It's so big. Oh my God, you got the whole universe in there, literally. And so that kind of knowing is so soft and it opens you up to not knowing, opens you up also to actually hearing what the universe is saying, actually getting the guidance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the same. Like I've had so many shifts on my mat for yoga practice where, I've been teaching for several years. And when I go into a class, I'm just like, yeah, I know.
Yep.
I know that downward dog, spread your fingers, right? Into the mat,
Yep.
all these things. But one thing shifted me a couple years ago. And this lady, because I would always notice that my heels don't go down to the floor, right? My legs, when they're straight, they don't touch the floor. And this teacher just said, yeah, don't worry about your heels. She's talking to the whole class. She's like, actually bend your knees a lot. Lift your tailbone up to the sky. And that just like opened up my whole back and shoulders. And I was like, what? Oh, this is downward dog. I mean, it's been several years, but no, actually now this is downward dog. And so but I did have that attitude of just like, no, I know what Adho Mukha Svanasana is, downward facing dog, right? I studied, I did all this stuff. But then when you step into a space, wherever that space is, and you're just like, you know what, I don't know. And you're listening, then you're just like, oh my gosh, I actually didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, and everything should be like that. Like everything should be like that. Yeah.
Even, watching my little one grow up and just watching children in general, they are in this space. They're never bored, right? Because they're in this space of constant fascination because they don't know. And when you start to look at them, you see a child like jumping in a puddle and you're like, oh shit, this kid knows way more than I do about like being wet, about the depth of this puddle, like what mud feels like when the rubber of his boots connects with it and it's kind of like sticking a little bit. Like this kid knows what it means to live in this moment right now. Like that is knowing. That is knowing, exploring, and finding the adventure. And so, yeah, I mean, this topic grew out of just my utter frustration with people seeking help and knowing it all. And particularly when you come to people like me and Allie, who this is what we do, like, and particularly if you're coming to us, like, I really don't know what's going to work for you and what's going to help you. Like, I know it seems like I have this like amazing plan, but at the end of the day, I'm here and I'm present 100% with the person in front of me. Yeah. And all I know is what spirit is giving me to say or do or push, like, make her angry, piss her off right now. And I'm like, oh, you want me to do that? Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, my client's going to punch me in my face. But I know that this is what I'm being told to do. Now, Erica doesn't know that. Like, I don't know because I would be like, don't piss her off. Don't make him mad. But Spirit's like, no, that's what they need. They need to be challenged. Say the opposite of what is true for them. Let them move into that level 2 space from poor me, I don't know what to do, into you don't tell me, I know that like now, okay, that's a little bit of movement. So yeah.
And even to take it, like, I know should not be in your vocabulary unless it comes connected with that you are love, that you are awesome, that you are beautiful, that you are, then those are just like, no, I know. Like, I know who that is. But it shouldn't, like, even to say, I know what's best for my kid, or
oh my gosh,
you don't know, like, you don't know what's best for them at all. You don't know what's best for your business. You don't know. And that's where staying open and just saying, what would it look like for my business to hit these numbers, right? And then let it show up. Let it show up. Yeah. Absolutely. So take out, I know, and just replace it with a question. What would it actually be like if this were to enter my life? So
how would I like it to be? Yeah. What would I like it to be? Like, what would feel good? What would feel awesome to me? Mm-hmm. There's so much to talk about in this topic, and I'm sure that in many other ways it's gonna come up. But is there anything we can add on this topic?
No, I just think, did you have the homework already laid out for them?
I don't, but I do want to say, what happens if somebody's having an internal experience, Allie, of like feeling depressed, feeling down, and they feel like they know how to get out of it and they keep saying, I know. Is it the same steps as with like an external thing, like learning a language?
Well, it's the same. So if they're saying, no, I know how to get out of it,
But they're
then
not, and they're stuck and they're frustrated.
Right. Then it's clear that they don't really want to get out of it.
Or the way they think they have to get out of it is not appealing to them.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, that would be the same thing as I know this is what I want my end result, but the path that I'm using to get there isn't working for me.
Yeah.
And so then that would just be like, what would it feel like not to be depressed today? Like, what would it feel like to be happy?
Ooh, I like that, because I feel like people are like, I just have to be, a kinder person. I'm like, but you don't feel kind. Like we don't, you know what I mean? So a lot of people, they know the outside goal, like be more compassionate, like be more focused, they know the outside goal.
Right.
But even the path they have to getting to that is just, they don't have it. That path is not the path for them, or they don't really want to be compassionate with that person who they think is an actual asshole. Well, in real life asshole.
Because then we think of like big jumps, right? Depressed to joyful. It's just like how can you talk somebody from being really low to being super high? Instead, just like, what would it be like to be just like, I'm here, I'm depressed, but to be like, now this much, we move from depressed. And then what would it feel like to be? So, I mean, play around with it and see what works for you. But the question is, what would it be like? And I promise you, the universe will send you situations for compassion. It doesn't have to be for that person, but let's say you ask that question and someone slips and falls in front of you as you're walking. And then that is your opportunity to be like, oh my gosh, you're okay. How can I help you? And then like, okay, that was compassion. That felt good. And then like, what would it feel like to have more, to experience more compassion? And then you may, and the crazy thing is when you go down that line, the person who's an asshole, you're showing all this compassion on your journey to that person. And that person might disappear, might be out of your life. It might
not because of a spell, Allie. We cannot. No more disappearing people.
But then it might change your perception on, I didn't need to show that person compassion in the first place. So what I'm saying is just like, don't focus on the end result. It's always the journey. Like, what would it feel like?
Next step.
Yeah, more compassionate. Okay. So then that shows up. Then let me do that. And then now, and then now, and then now. Yeah. Because we do get caught up into, I know, and this is what it needs to look like from get to A to B. But there's no healing that's happening. You're just going through the steps and the focus. And I'm not saying that it would never work to get from here to here. But if you get here all of a sudden and then shit just falls apart again, then it was all external. It was all an illusion. It wasn't real at all. It wasn't, you didn't build the foundation, the energetic shift that needed to happen to anchor this thing in place, because there is no steps to get from A to B. It doesn't exist. Because
no outside steps.
At all.
Period.
Yeah.
Man, that feels really good. And I'm sure this topic will come back around in a lot of different ways, but I think the homework is pretty clear for this one.
Yeah, just be mindful.
Always journaling.
Yeah, and catch yourself when you say, I know. And then why are you saying I know? Is it defensive? Is it, ego, same thing? What are you trying to protect? And then how would it feel if you went back through that same scenario and said, you know what? I don't know. I actually don't know.
Okay, so let's do this. So your homework will be to have 3 columns across the top of your page. And then like Ali said, in the first column, you're going to write down all the stuff or all the times you catch yourself in this I know space. You'll know you're there, even if you don't say it, because you feel stuck and agitated. So all of your I knows, write them down. The center space for each I know, explore what it would be like to not know. How would that feel? All of a sudden, you're murdering a part of your ego, which there could be resistance. That's fine. but eventually it's going to feel so open and so good and so amazing. And then in the third column, that question that kept coming up: what would it be like for me to enjoy this process? So what would it, what are the possibilities here that I haven't considered? How else can that question be phrased, Allie?
Just whatever you're going towards, just ask what would it be like to learn a different language in a way that suited me or brought me joy and happiness. What would it be like to be in a body that was healthy? What would it be like to show peace when I'm around my family? So whatever you're looking for, don't fight against it. Just ask for, just show me, what would it be like for that to happen? And I promise you, it won't be external stuff that's shifting. It's all going to be your perception and an emotion that you have to tap into, that you haven't.
And shifting that is going to shift your vibration. And you guys are going to feel it. When you go through these three columns, you're going to feel yourself go from tense to loose to excited to joyful. Just considering not knowing and then allowing yourself to truly know. Completely different knowing. Different knowing.
And it's like when you were little and the magic tricks. Like they were so simple. Like I do with JJ, where when he was little, I'd have a quarter and it would be so sloppy because I'm not a magician. And I'd be like, and it would drop and I'd be like, and it's gone. He's like, oh, what? Like, he was right. But then as he gets older, now he knows. And it's not fun anymore.
Once you know.
Right? Yep. And we're telling the universe, I already know. And it's like, really? Because JJ doesn't know if I'm working on my magician game. Like I could just literally make that shit disappear. And then he'd be like, what?
This time it goes up into the ether. Like, I'm not working on it. He does know.
I'm working on his 1-year-old little brother, because that's my next
exactly
thing with, because he'd be like, that's amazing. Yep. Never gets old.
Never gets old for the doer and the person until they figure it out. Oh gosh. Okay, guys, it's been real. Next week, I was thinking, Allie, that we should go into some talks about relationships, about not necessarily with romantic, but like between people.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's see what comes up in that topic. When you listen to this on Friday, if you have any questions about interacting with other humans, good, bad, or ugly, then let us know. And
we're taking a poll to see if Mark should become a cam model. And then we'll
And then one more thing, Allie, actually, we usually talk about suggestions that we get, but I got a suggestion from a beautiful soul who I love so much. And she said we should have people call in. That actually sounds really fun, because I know we've been thinking about bringing on other experts. And she was like, we don't need anybody but you and Allie. And I was like, I don't know about that. We probably get some other people and some other experts. But I do think it would be fun for people who have questions to keep going. If they're like, nope, I still don't get it, or explain to us a little bit more about surrender or
absolutely
what we were talking about today, then we can go deeper.
Yeah. I agree. That sounds good.
Awesome. Let's figure it out. People, have a beautiful week.
Yes. And I will be back in the States in the snow and the cold. So
welcome. It's been real. Holla back.
SheKings. Yeah. Come on, Erica. Close us out with your little whisper.